Hi guys, how's it going? So as you know, we have just been to Singapore. Ali got dengue fever, which was awful. I managed to get out and about a few times and basically see the sights of Singapore. So today I'm going to give you my first impressions, what I thought when I was there. My very first impression of Singapore is that it's very green. We came on the bus from Malaysia, came through immigration, and yeah, I was really surprised at how green Singapore was. The trees lining the roads, it was really nice to see. My second impression basically hit me once I left the nice air-conditioned coach. Swamp-ass is a thing in Singapore. You will sweat from every orifice and every pore. It is horrible, but at the same time, Singapore is such a nice city that you kind of just put up with that, and you have to have air conditioning breaks while walking around. Yes, air conditioning breaks. Try and hide in as many malls and shops as possible. It'll like slightly take the edge off the humidity. There's a guy drilling. That's great. I'm trying to film. Would you mind? Do you mind? Thank you. So I'd heard a lot of good things about Singapore before I even went, and one of the things I kept hearing is how clean Singapore is, how there's hardly any bins and stuff like that, how like basically there's no chewing gum allowed, there's no chewing gum left on the streets, there's no rubbish anywhere, and it's right, it's a very clean city. I did see some rubbish you going to, but yeah, generally it's very clean. I only saw a few bits of rubbish. You even have guys like on little boats going up and down the river, and they have like little nets and they're picking little bits of rubbish out of the river. So yeah, well done Singapore on that. Very clean, and it's really nice to see, you know. I mean, just recently in Malaysia when we were with Stevie the other day, we just seen a guy having a cigarette in his car, and he just threw like a fag packet out of the car window. And you see that in England a few times as well from idiots, and it's just stupid. Like, littering these days is just unacceptable. The guy's still drilling. It's very annoying. The other thing I heard a lot about Singapore was how expensive Singapore is. It's been rated, I think, #1 as the world's most expensive country in the world quite a few times. And yeah, I just heard loads of things saying, yeah, it's so expensive, you'll spend so much money. And yeah, it is expensive, but it doesn't mean you can't find cheap things. Like, I was finding quite cheap beer on like happy hours in very touristy areas, and the local hawker centres where you can get really cheap food. You know, you can find cheap food and drink, it's not impossible. But if you want to spend, you can easily spend. So while walking around Singapore with my swamp ass, I could see why many people have these really cool electric scooters, and they're whizzing around. You know, they got the not cool air, warm air hitting their face, and they're not walking everywhere. And from walking around everywhere, taking pictures and filming, it's lovely to walk around, by the way. It is so hot. Like, a little scooter, if you were doing like a daily commute to work and stuff, yeah, them little scooters are really cool. So I think some of the hostels even maybe lend them out to backpackers and stuff like that. I've seen a few Westerners on them. So yeah, I don't know, them little scooters are really cool. I did see a couple of people on the electric unicycles, which is awesome. So yeah, definitely a little mode of transport to get around, because it is so humid, is something I noticed a lot in Singapore. Another impression was the really cool mix of like old buildings and new buildings. Obviously they're not like really old, because Singapore is quite sort of a new country almost, like compared to the UK, I mean. So it was nice to see. I think that's obviously like a British influence, the really nice buildings like the museums and the old courthouse and stuff like that, and then you have like the modern courthouse which looks like something out of Star Trek. It's really awesome to see that really cool mix, especially when you go to places like Little India, Chinatown. You see like the old 5-foot ways, you see like old shutters on the windows. It looks really, really cool, and yeah, I really liked it. Taking pictures of the buildings there was, you know, something I couldn't get enough of. It was really, really cool. Now the people of Singapore, I found the people to be really, really friendly. And not just friendly, but really up for a laugh. Like me and Tony, when we went into the Indian restaurant to get some curry puffs, you know, we were having a really good like laugh and joke with the guys behind the counter. And yeah, it just seemed like a really nice vibe. And even when I was getting food on my own and getting a drink with Tony, you know, the bar staff and the waiters are very, very friendly people. So yeah, first impressions of that are really, really cool. Obviously I haven't been there for a massive amount of time, so that opinion could change over time. I don't think it would, but yeah, I really liked the politeness of Singaporeans, to be honest. Another first impression is I felt like I'd left Asia. Now, if you go backpacking and your first stop to Asia is Singapore, and you're, say, from a Western world country, then you're not going to feel like you've left the Western world. It's very, very Western, and it has that like twist of Asian, but it's so modern and so nice and so like futuristic almost, and just really like I don't know how to explain it. It's like you've stepped into another world. It's kind of weird. But yeah, it's definitely not Asia. It doesn't belong to Asia anymore. It needs to be like put somewhere on its own or shipped to the Western world and just placed somewhere there. I don't know. It's kind of weird, but I like it. The public transport is really, really good. It's very well connected. It's cheap, so you can get around really easily. Even the taxis are cheap, trains are cheap, the buses are cheap. So yeah, it's really, really easy to get around. The trains especially are really cool. They're really wide, which is awesome. So obviously at rush hour, there's going to be a lot more space for you to sort of stand and not all be like crammed in like sardines. So that's a really nice thing to see. The train stations are really cool. Mind you, we did go like down into one train station and we just kind of ended up in a shopping mall and then kept walking around and walking around and walking around, and then eventually got down to the train station. It was pretty crazy. It was a bit of a trip just to get down there, which is mad. But yeah, the trains, the buses, taxis and stuff like that, really well connected and super cheap. One thing that I didn't see is I didn't see any buskers. Now I did read before I went to Singapore that if you are in the street playing music and you're irritating people, then it is actually against the law. You can be fined for it, I guess, or you're not going to be sent to prison, I don't think, but you know, they don't like buskers. And yeah, I didn't see any buskers. We did have at one time when me and Tony were having a beer, a lady came up to us to try and like sell us something, saying that she was part of a charity. Now I don't know if that's a bit of a scam or she actually was part of a charity, but she obviously wanted some money. So yeah, that happened. I don't know if that happens often or we were just unlucky. A little bit of a bad point here for Singapore is your 7-Elevens are rubbish. Compared to Malaysia and compared to Thailand, your 7-Elevens are really rubbish. I was quite surprised how bad your 7-Elevens are. It just seems like 7-Eleven have gone, yeah, what is amazing about 7-Eleven? All this stuff, and then what we'll do is we'll just not put any of that in our Singapore shops. That's what they've done. Another impression of Singapore is I hardly saw anyone with any pets. I mean, like, I didn't see anyone walking a dog, didn't see anyone carrying a dog either. I didn't see one dog. I don't know if that's because there's not many dogs or because you're not allowed to walk them in the streets, or I don't know. I didn't see any dogs. I saw one cat, one in my whole time I was there. So yeah, didn't see many dogs, didn't see many cats. I do know that it's against the law to feed stray dogs and cats in Singapore. Yeah, I don't know. Do many people have pets in Singapore, or are they just like house pets? Let me know. And my last impression is, I was saying before, Singapore is a very sort of strange city, strange country. It's so, yeah, it needs some chaos. It would help Singapore if it had some sort of chaos. Now, I know, like, when I say chaos, it's kind of like, well, why would you want that? it just feels very sterile, Singapore, sometimes. It feels almost like, I don't know, you're in a hospital where everything is super clean, or, you know, you don't really want to make any mistakes because you might think you've done something really badly wrong, or you might be arrested or fined, or, you know, it's a strange place. I'd have to live there for quite a while to get used to it, I think. And I probably would get used to it in the end, and I'd probably enjoy not having the chaos. But I think coming from other Asian countries straight to Singapore, I kind of miss the chaos a little bit. So I guess if you came from an organized Western country to Singapore, you probably wouldn't feel that as much. But coming from Asia and having a lot of chaos around, you kind of miss the chaos a little bit in Singapore. It sounds really strange, but I did. I just kind of missed that little bit. It just seemed too sterile, too lacking. It just felt like it was lacking something. But that's my first impression. My impressions can change, and I definitely will be back to Singapore in the future to explore that amazing country some more. It's a very cool place. I like it. I do like it. Just want to say a big thank you to Singapore for hosting us and making our time really enjoyable there. Unfortunately, Ali was bedridden the whole time.
My time wasn't very enjoyable.
Yeah, you were a bit gutted when you... But yeah. So let me know what you think about Singapore in the comments down below. Give this video a big thumbs up. Hit subscribe if you haven't already. And yeah, I'll see you guys in a couple of days.